ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नाम्ने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री द्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay. So which text are we doing? Did we do 4 yesterday or we did 3? Krishna, anybody?
We read 4, Prabhuji.
We did 4.
Oh, 4. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Yo Vayam Deepa Kuvalaya Kamala Koshabhyantar Kosho Niyota Yojana Vishala Samavartulo Yatha Pushkara Patram.
Yojavayam Dvipa Kuvalaya Kamala Kosha Yantara Kosha
Yojana
Samavartulo Yatha Pushkara
Patram.
Planetary system known as Bhumandal resembles a lotus flower, and its 7 islands resemble the orb of that flower. The length and breadth of the island known as Jambudvip, which is situated in the middle of the world, are 1 million yojanas, 8 million miles. Jambudvip is round like a leaf of a lotus flower. Yasmin Navavarshani Navayojana Sahasrayamanya Ashtabhir Maryada Giribhi Suvi Bhaktani Bhavanti.
Yasmin Navavarshani Navayojana Sahasra Ashtabhir
Vibhaktani
Bhavanti.
Yes, would someone like to read?
Did Prabhu?
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. Translation of Prabhupada by Divine Grace from Prabhupada. Translation. In Jambudvipa, there are 9 divisions of land, each with a length of 9,000 yojanas, 72,000 miles. There are 8 mountains that mark the boundaries of these divisions and separate them nicely. Purport. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura gives the following quotation from the Vayu Purana, wherein the locations of the various mountains, beginning with the Himalayas, are described. Tanurvat samstite Neye 2 varshe Dakshinotre Dirgani Tatra Chatvari Sachurasram Ilavratam Iti Dakshinottare Bharatotra Kuruvarshe Chatvari Kim Purusha Harivarsha Ramyaka Hiranmayani Varshani Nila Nisadayos Tirashni Bhuya Samudra Pravishtayo Samlagnatvam Angikritya Badrashva Ketumalayor Apidanur Akritvam Atastayor Dairgyata Eva Madhye Sankuchitatvena Navasahasraya Atvam Ilavratasya Tumeroho Sakshat Chaturdikshu Navasahasra Yamatvam Sambhavet Vastutas Ilavrata Badrasva Ketumala Nam Chatustrimsat Sahasra Yamatman Neyam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Now, this is going to be a somewhat confusing chapter because it'll be a bit unclear as to what is being described here. Is it the Earth which is being described according to some authorities, or according to other authorities, it is the middle planetary system which itself being described? So, one thing we should understand is that this is a very general description of the universe. It is not that this is the exact description as such. Like, one should not hold these with astronomical distances. This is how we see, this is how we see. Because one thing to be understood is that the focus of Srimad Bhagavatam is to explain the spiritual aspects of everything. Like 72,000 miles is not really a very big distance. So there are 8 mountains that mark the boundaries of these divisions. So beginning with Himalayas, but we know that there are like some smaller mountain ranges on Earth itself, but Earth itself is not 72,000 miles. Like from India to Europe is around 4,000 kilometers. So I don't know exactly what is the circumference of the Earth, but you'll see that these are not going to coincide exactly with those descriptions. But one thing we can understand is that this description actually matches the spiritual consciousness or the consciousness of the living entities which are present in these different places. As we go further, these things will start getting clearer and clearer. Text 7. Yesham madhye ilavratam namabhyantar varsham yasya nabhyam avasthita sarvatah Savarnah kulagiri rajo merur vipayam.
Avasthita
sarvatah Savarnah Kulagiri Raju Merur Vipayama
Samunnaha karnika bhutah kuvalyakum kamalasya murdhani dvatrimshat. Yeah.
Samanaha Karnika Bhutaha Kamalasya Murdhani Dvatrimshat
Sahasra yojana vitato mule shodasha sahasram tavat antara bhumyam pravishta.
Sahasra Yojana Vitato Mule
Sodusha
Sodasa Sahasram Tavat Antarbhumyam
Pravishta.
Amidst these divisions or varshas is the varsh named Ilavrat, which is situated in the middle of the wall of the lotus. Within Ilavrat Varsh is Sumeru mountain, which is made of gold. Sumeru mountain is like the pericarp of the lotus-like Bhumandal planetary system. The mountain's height is the same as the width of Jambudvip, or in other words, 100,000 yojanas, 800,000 miles. Of that, 16,000 yojanas, 128,000 miles, are within the earth, and therefore the mountain's height above the earth is 84,000 yojanas, 672,000 miles. The mountain's width is 32,000 yojanas, 256,000 miles, at its summit and 16,000 yojanas at its base. Hare Krishna. Text 8. Uttarottarene lavratam Neelah Shvetah Shrangavan iti trayo Ramyaka Hiranmaya.
Uttarottarene lavratam Neelah Shvetah Shrangavan iti trayo Ramyaka Hiranmaya.
Kurunam Varshanam Maryada Giriyah Praga Ayata.
Urunam Varshanam Maryada Giriyah Ayata.
Ubhayatah Ksharo Davadhayo Dvisahasra Prathava Ekaish Kashah Purvasmat.
Ksharo
Padyayo Sahasra Pratava Eke Kashaha Purvasmad
Uttaro Dasham Shadhikam Shena Dairghya Eva Hrasanti.
Purvasmad Uttaro Dasamsa
Adikamshena
Vikamsena
Dairagya Eva
Lairya
Harshanti.
Harshanti.
Krishna. Yeah, would someone like to read?
Read, Prabhu.
Yes, please, Prabhu.
Translation and purport by Divine Grace Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Just north of the Ilavrita Varsha and going further northward, one after another, there are three mountains named Nila, Shweta, Shringavan. These mark the borders of the three Varshas named Ramyaka, Hiranmaya, and Kuru, and separate them from one another. The width of these mountains is 2,000 yojanas, 16,000 miles. Lengthwise, they extend east and west to the beaches of the oceans of salt water. Going from south to north, the length of each mountain is 1/10 of the previous mountain, but the height of all of them is same. Purport. In this regard, Madhvacharya quotes the following verse from the Brahmanda Purana. Yatha Bhagavate Tuktam Vauvanam Kosha Lakshanam Tasya Virodhato Yojam Anya Grantantare Stidam Mandode Puranam Chaiva Yat Yasam Shira Sagare Rahu Soma Ravinam Cha Mandalad Vi Gunoktitam Vinaiva Sarvam Punneyam Yojana Vedato Tratu. It appears from these verses that aside from the sun and moon, there is an invisible planet called Rahu. The movements of Rahu cause both solar and lunar eclipses. These suggest that the modern expeditions attempting to reach the moon are mistakenly going to Rahu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so so Prabhupada was like very much positive that actually humans have just gone to Rahu, because all the descriptions of the so-called moon that scientists talk about actually match that of Rahu. Rahu is a demonic planet, not at all suitable for life. It is not at all a worthy planet to be in. Moon, on the other hand, is the planet of water, actually, Chandra. So it is mentioned in the scriptures that actually the juice in the vegetables and grains actually comes from moonlight. So moon actually nourishes the vegetables, not the sun. So, but of course, the modern scientists will give so many theories, but actually they can't explain so many things also. And sometimes, Maya will act in such a way that one may think that, okay, scientists are right, when it may appear, because that is the way in which Maya is deluding us all the time. Because at the very end, Maya even deludes us by telling us that we are Krishna. So if we have even the slightest inclination, we actually start thinking that we are Krishna. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandapranam. Prabhuji, in this previous verse translation, this is, I think, a very stupid and irrelevant observation, but still, because I saw it, it's mentioned that the mountain's width is 32,000 yojanas at its summit. Okay, and 16,000 yojanas at its base. Matlab, summit is broader than the base. The mountain ka shape hi ulta ho gaya.
हाँ, but Sumeru है कहाँ? आपने देखा है?
नहीं वही.
Has anyone seen that mountain? According to Earth is 11th Varsh. Especially the land of India is 11th Varsh. So where exactly is this Mount Sumeru?
That's why I said it's not so relevant, but normally we know mountains are pointed at the top and broad at the base, but this is just ulta.
But one thing also we must understand is that this mountain is the axis of the universe. So if you remember the map which we had shared previously in the class, the planetary systems actually shrink as we go bottomwards. The lower planetary systems are smaller and more closely spaced as compared to the heavenly planets. What we call Bhumandal or the middle planetary systems are actually towards the bottom of the universe. The heavenly planets extend way up, so they have a much larger portion within the universe as compared to the middle and the lower planetary systems. So it is logical to think that this mountain could be wider at the summit than at the base.
But the upper planetary systems, they are more subtle. That's why they are more expansive. Then
So lower ones are also subtle. Like for example, planet of Yakshas, Rakshasas, Kinnaras, they are all subtle planets. Rahu also is like a subtle planet only.
mhm.
It's called that's why it's invisible. Planet of the Yakshas is subtle.
Okay. Hmm. Okay, good.
Yeah, so text 9. एवं दक्षिणेने लाव्रतम निषधो हेमकूटो हिमालय इति प्रागायता.
Evam dakshine lavritam nishatho hemakuto Himalaya iti pragayata.
यथा नीलादयो युत योजनो सेधा हरिवर्ष किम पुरुष भारतानाम यथा संख्यम.
यथा नीलदायो युत योजना सेदा हरिवर्ष किम पुरुष भारतानाम यथा सांख्यम.
Now this is very interesting. Please read this one.
Is it Prabhu?
Yes, please.
Translation. Similarly, south of the Ilavrata Varsha and extending from east to west are three great mountains, named from north to south, Visarda, Hemakuta, and Himalaya. Each of them is 10,000 yojanas, 80,000 miles high. They mark the boundaries of the three Varshas, named Hari Varsha, Kim Purusha Varsha, and Bharata Varsha, India. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, now you see, according to this calculation, the height of Himalaya is 10,000 yojanas. Now we know Mount Everest is 8 kilometers. That is like roughly around 6 miles or slightly less, around 5 miles. So that is not even 1 yojana actually. So we can also understand that these are actually spiritual descriptions. And also, like, it could possibly be that we are describing the Satyug here. Because in Satyug, the dimensions are very big. Like, for example, when, who was the name of the king, the father-in-law of Balram, when he went to heavenly planets to meet Brahmaji, when he came back to Earth, he suddenly realized that Earth had shrunk terribly. Because when he was listening to Brahmaji, when he was waiting for Brahmaji in Brahmalok, so many yogic cycles had already passed. So Earth had become like Kali had already arrived, and Earth had shrunk and become very small. Like if you see the description of Govardhan Hill also. Today, Govardhan Hill is not more than 40 feet, just about like maybe 10, 15 meters at maximum point, 15, 20 meters, you can say. But there was a time when Govardhan was taller than Himalayas. So it is also continuously shrinking in the age of Kali. Actually, it is mentioned that at the end of Kali Yuga, Govardhan would have completely disappeared. So Govardhan is shrinking all the time. Yes,
Prabhuji, in any case, it looks very logical also. Because what we are mentioning is about Satyuga and before that. Over a period, there is erosion in all these things. So somewhere is more, somewhere is less. You can't deny this fact. Maybe this may be having that height and all this, those period. And now we are talking of the present age. So it can't be ruled out altogether. That's my thinking.
Yes, very much true, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Text 10. तथैवेला व्रतम अपरेण पूर्वेण च माल्यवद गंधमादनाव आनिल.
तथैवेला व्रतम अपरेण
पूर्वेण च माल्यवद गंधमादनाव आनिल.
निषधाय तौ द्विसहस्रम प्रपृथतु केतुमाला भद्राश्वयो सीमानं विदधते.
निषदया तौ द्विसहस्रं प्रपृथतुः केतुमाला भद्राश्वयो सीमानं विदधते.
May I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Translation. In the same way, west and east of Ilavrata Varsha are two great mountains named Malyavan and Gandhamadana, respectively. These two mountains, which are 2,000 yojanas, 16,000 miles high, extend as far as Nila Mountain in the north and Nishada in the south. They indicate the borders of Ilavrata Varsha and also the Varshas known as Ketumala and Bhadrasva. There are so many mountains, even on this planet Earth. We do not think that the measurements of all of them have actually been calculated. While passing over the mountainous regions from Mexico to Caracas, we actually saw so many mountains that we doubt whether their height, length, and breadth have been properly measured. Therefore, as indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam by Shukadeva Goswami, we should not try to comprehend the greater mountainous areas of the universe merely by our calculations. Shukadeva Goswami has already stated that such calculations would be very difficult even if one had a duration of life like that of Brahma. We should simply be satisfied with the statements of authorities like Shukadeva Goswami and appreciate how the entire cosmic manifestation has been made possible by the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The measurements given herein, such as 10,000 yojanas or 100,000 yojanas, should be considered correct because they have been given by Shukadeva Goswami. Our experimental knowledge can neither verify nor disprove the statements of Srimad Bhagavatam. We should simply hear these statements from authorities. If we can appreciate the extensive energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that will benefit us. Thank you, Darshan.
Hare Krishna, thank you. No, a very interesting thought experiment, regarding this. So many times devotees leave the movement also after reading this particular part of Bhagavatam. So many devotees still doubt. I mean, I met one very senior guru who is a disciple of Prabhupada who still doubts this. And he still calls himself a disciple of Prabhupada. He's still initiating. So it's kind of sad, it's very sad. One thing we must understand here is that our science depends on our senses. Our science can only perceive what our senses can perceive. For instance, we can only see a spectrum of colors. We can't see colors beyond ultraviolet or infrared. And so we don't know what is existing beyond those. Another interesting thing is, if you ever try to catch a fly, you will never be able to do it with your hands. A fly has a lifespan of a few days. Her time is much faster than ours. It's perception that this, even scientists agree, that the pace at which we move is very slow as compared to that of a fly. So fly can perceive time at a much higher scale than us. So when we try to catch it, we are like doing it in slow motion. If the fly is either unconscious or it is too lazy, then only it will get caught by us. Otherwise not. So we can see that, even within this planet, the time scales, the perceptions are so different. They're so different. Antarctica, which is frozen below -60 all year round. If you dig the snow a little bit, you will find earthworms there. Or, for instance, if you go to the Challenger Deep or Mariana Trench in the oceans, I mean, if you go more than 10 meters under the ocean, you anyway you can't dive more than that. There are creatures who are living under tremendous pressure, which we cannot sustain. There are creatures who live without light. Light is actually like a botheration for them. They are able to perceive their environment without any exposure to light. Or best example is if we compare ourselves with an earthworm. If you somehow or the other, if you are able to communicate with an earthworm and tell it about the beautiful sights of this world or how different colors look, the earthworm will never be able to understand those. Because earthworm doesn't have the faculty of sight. If you play music to an earthworm won't understand anything. Because it doesn't have the faculty of sound also. It just perceives some vibrations. So we see that we are so far more accomplished than other living creatures. And yet, our perception is so poor. It is mentioned also that, okay, let's not go into that area, of supernatural. But even in natural sense, if we see, our perception is so limited. So certainly what Bhagavatam is describing is beyond our comprehension, because we just see 3 dimensions. We have seen like Einstein's theory of time dilation or time-space compression, but we don't fully grasp it. We know we can observe it, and we can, utilize it in something like quantum tunneling, or, some kind of, in manufacture of electronic equipment or observation equipment. But we don't really grasp it. Like, we don't understand how time dilation really works, or whether we can even utilize it or not. There's so many theories that you can, we use the time-space dilation to propel rockets, actually. This Mars probe, Moon probes, they are sent using that. They're not just propelled through engines or something. But again, we don't have a full grasp of it. A layman cannot understand even. Scientists only understand through mathematical theories. Even scientists cannot perceive it directly. So we can see that our senses are so limited. Now, the description of Jambu Dweep as a lotus with 7 petals and Mount Meru at the bottom, at the very center, and that being situated in Ilavartavarsh, because the specific name of Himalayas is also used, we can understand that this is some description which we cannot perceive. So we simply accept it. We should simply be satisfied with the statements of the authorities like Shukdev Goswami and appreciate how the entire cosmic manifestation has been made possible. And that's about it, because we cannot perceive it. Mount Meru is the axis of the universe, but we don't see it. It's supposedly starting from Earth, but we cannot perceive it. One way to look at it is also like this. Like, for example, bacteria. Like, if you see, for example, there is this bacteria called the staph, Staphylococcus bacteria. It enters through the pores of your skin. This bacteria is a very interesting disease. This bacteria actually lives in the mucous membrane of your nose. And from there, if it unfortunately somehow manages to travel to your skin, it can cause severe bacterial infection. You will get very painful boils. So how does it manage it? It just enters through the pore in the skin. It's a microscopic creature. So for him, for a bacteria, like, imagine if the bacteria has a consciousness like ours, the bacteria cannot perceive that we are existing. The bacteria is so tiny, so microscopic, that a pore in our skin would be like a giant cave for him. He will not be able to understand that there is a personality in which I am living. Likewise, viruses or amoeba or other creatures, they are so small that they simply cannot have a perception of our existence. So likewise, if we see, for example, if we think of planets as molecules, then we can see that Mount Meru could possibly be existing as in molecular form, in the sense that there could be numerous planets containing sufficient quantities of gold, together constituting a mountain which we cannot perceive, because we are so microscopic that we can pass through the molecules of this mountain and never realize that we are just passing through the interstitial spaces. So, even with modern science, we can have some perception of what we're talking about. But in general, acceptable standard is that we cannot understand these things. We just accept them to understand how this universe is constructed. Yeah. Text 11. Mandaro Meru Mandara Suparshva Kumada Itya Ayuta Yojana.
Mandaro Mandara Suparshva Kumada Iti Ayuta Yojana.
Vistaron Naha Merosh Chatur Disham Avashtambha Giraya Upaklapta.
Vistarona Meros Chaturdisham Avatamba Giraya Upaklipta.
Yes.
Read for
Yes.
translation. On the 4 sides of the great mountain known as Sumeru are 4 mountains: Mandara, Neru Mandara, Suparshva, and Kumada, which are like its belts. The length and height of these mountains are calculated to be 10,000 yojanas, 80,000 miles.
Okay, so you see again, Mandara, Meru Mandara, Suparshva, and Kumada, which are like its belts. So you can see, like, we simply cannot imagine this height. Actually, if we have a mountain of this size, we won't be able to see any sunlight also. Chaturshva eteshu Chuta Jambu Kadamba Nyagrodhash Chatwara Pradapa
चतुर्ष एते सुश्रुत जम्बुक कदम्ब न्यग्रोधास चात्वर
प्रवराः प्रवत केतव इवाधि सहस्र यजनोन्नाहास्तावद विटप विततयः शत योजन परिणाः
केतव इवादि सहस्र योजनो नहास तावद् वितप वितयः शत योजन परिणाः.
Standing like flagstaffs on the summits of these four mountains are a mango tree, a rose apple tree, a kadamba tree, and a banyan tree. Those trees are calculated to have a width of 100 yojanas, 800 miles, and a height of 1100 yojanas, 8800 miles. Their branches are also spread to a radius of 1100 yojanas. See, there are subtle living beings like Preta, Bhuta, Pishacha, Yaksha, Kinnara. These living entities, they travel through the process of thought. The material world itself is an illusion. So what we perceive is just our thought process. Like, for example, we discussed about the example of seeing the spectrum of light. So just like that, it's very difficult to perceive the presence of these four trees, because the next descriptions are going to be still more difficult to comprehend. And we are just discussing the Bhumandala. So we can think that, we can understand that yogis, the great yogis and the great master mystics, who are great master mystics, they can actually travel through these universes and see all of this. Someone like Maharaj Chitraketu could see this, Durvasa can see this, or Maharaj Ambarish could also see all of these. So once you have achieved siddhis, then you can perceive all of this. Like, for example, a man with a cataract cannot see anything. Once the cataract is removed, then he is able to perceive the whole world. Simply, we should also understand that we are also suffering from the cataract of Maya, and even the so-called Maya world is also hidden from us in many ways that we cannot perceive. Like the subtle beings, the presence of Bhuta Pishach, everyone can understand that they are there. But still we cannot see, and they also cannot see us that clearly, because we are living in different planes. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments here? Okay. One last verse for the day. Pradash Chatvarah Payo Madhva Ikshurasa Mrishta Jala Yad Uparsparshina.
Pradash Chatvarah Payo Madhva Ikshurasa Mrishta Jala Yad Uparsparshina.
Upadeva Gana Yogeshwaryani Swabhavikani Bharatarshava Dharayanti.
Upadeva Gana Yogeshwaryani Swabhavikani Bharata Rishabha.
Devo Dhyanani cha bhavanti chatvari nandanam chaitra ratham vaibhadrajakam sarvato bhadram iti.
Devo Dhyani cha bhavanti chatvari nandanam chaitra ratham
sarvato bhadram iti.
O Maharaj Parikshit, the best of the Bharat dynasty, between these four mountains are four huge lakes. The water of the first tastes just like milk, the water of the second like honey, and that of the third like sugarcane juice. The fourth lake is filled with pure water. The celestial beings such as the Siddhas, Charanas, and Gandharvas, who are also known as demigods, enjoy the facilities of those four lakes. Consequently, they have the natural perfections of mystic yoga, such as the power to become smaller than the smallest or greater than the greatest. There are also four celestial gardens named Nandan, Chitrarath, Vaibhrajak, and Sarvato Bhadra. So you can see now this we cannot perceive with our eyes at all. So where are these legs? How are they existing? And what are these personalities? We have no idea. So Siddhas, Charanas, Gandharvas, they are all like, they are subtle beings. They are not like grossly like us. And their bodies are very neat and clean. Their bodies do not emit foul smelling substances like our body does. They are very accomplished beings. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we stop here today. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you,
Jai.
Prabhu.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavad Pranam, Prabhu. Hare
Prabhu,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavad Pranam.
Thank you. Dandavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Dandavad Pranam. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Dandavad Pranam.